Oh, I see the stream started. Uh-oh. I gotta like perform. I gotta present. Oh man, it's wondering. I have to mute myself through the stream. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. Good. How about you?
Cool. I'm doing super well. I no longer see what you see, and I don't know if you see me, and it's weird.
We can see you.
Excellent. So I can't start like picking my nose or whatever. I guess I could.
Up to you.
That's what y'all came here to see.
Next thing you know, you're on Instagram, famous famous YouTuber picking his nose.
Vice articles, New York Times.
I feel like most of this side, like I think you might be cut off.
I feel bad for the posterity of the
Long
stream.
story short, this thing, the projector is super noisy, so I had to like tune the mic away from it, so this whole like direction is kind of soft. But if you turn around and speak right at the mic, it should be good.
Pleasure and belly.
Cool. I know we're at the top of the hour. Do you guys need to do any, I don't know, shenanigans, intro, announcements, stuff like that, or should I just kind of roll?
You're all good, John. Go right ahead.
Cool. Alrighty, excellent. Hey, let me see if I can share my screen. I'll do my best. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Is Zoom going to behave? That's the question. Oh, I think so. How's it going? Can you see the screen A-okay?
Yes, we're good.
Dope. Alrighty. Well, cool. Hey, thanks so much, everyone. This is awesome. It's a real treat to come hang out with you. I'd like to try to give a presentation on this thing called, hey, CTF to IRL. We're taking a lot of capture the flag, stuff that you're doing like right now in your competition, or things you might already be rocking on the keyboard, and bridging that gap to real world or the industry, or what you see out on the front lines and in the trenches for a lot of this fun stuff. So with that, I'll go ahead and get the ball rolling, but I would be remiss to not mention, hey, thanks. Thanks so much for letting me come hang out with you all. Thank you for letting me spend time with you. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be just jazzing and talking with you. So with that, I'll be super duper quick on the boring, hey, introduction, who am I slide, because I realize no one really cares. But what I want to bring to at least mention is, look, hey, I was studying and in school and kicking around with some textbooks and all that crap not too long ago. So I went over to the US Coast Guard Academy for my undergrad, and that is where I was really cutting my teeth and getting sharp on all this cybersecurity nerd stuff. But it's been a lot of fun, and that's really how I don't know, got in the ropes here. That's my upbringing. And then for jumping into, hey, the workforce, quote unquote, again, super quick because no one really cares. I bebopped over to the Department of Defense Cyber Training Academy as a little bit of an instructor, subject matter expert, whatever, curriculum developer there. Thought that was cool. Thought that was fun. Hey, it was nice to be up on the podium, trying to teach, but it can be a little dull when you're doing that for 8 hours a day, kind of just trying to entertain students and keep folks awake, like riding a tricycle or unicycle in the front of the room, trying to juggle or whatever. Just keep the pulse. So I thought, you know what, I want to go do this for real. And I went to the Defense Threat Reduction Agency to be on the keyboard, be an operator. But that had a certain amount of red tape and bureaucracy and slow moving, sluggish government military stuff. So I went away from that and went actually back to the training academy. Eventually, I found my home where I am at now, over at Huntress. That's my day job. I'm a senior security researcher there, or whatever the stupid formal title is. But that is, I don't know, where I get a whole lot of the fun stuff that I'm doing day to day, and hopefully some really, really cool stuff to bring to you. With that, look, there's a really interesting thing. There's a super interesting thing when you do a virtual presentation or you do like a talk, because for one thing, I can't really read the room. I don't know what you're feeling. I don't know if you're awake. I don't know if you're interested in this. I can't see anyone's eyes glazing over when I'm being boring. And especially, I don't exactly know what you want to chat about, what you want to talk about, what I can bring to the table that's interesting and worthwhile for you. So I thought I'd do my best. Hey, what do you want to talk about? Hey, let's do a little like choose your own adventure. I have a couple stories that I'd love to tell you, but I'm more interested in knowing what you're interested about. And let's see, I don't know, we've got, hey, tracking advanced persistent threat hackers and some nation state adversaries. We've got vulnerability disclosure and discovery, a little bit more of a CTF style to it. We've got cyber criminals have passion too, a little bit more of that dark web, threat intel, cybercrime stuff. And we've got some other, hey, supply chain exploits and threats. So I'm super duper grateful for the folks, hey, behind the scenes here, already dropping the Zoom poll. I don't know if there's going to be able to be one in the YouTube chat for the folks tuning in on YouTube. But even those folks in the room, hey, I'd love to hear. Shout it out if you're willing to deal with the echo. What are you interested in? What should we dive into?
Cybercrime.
Yes.
Cybercrime?
Blue one.
The blue one. That one. Green. I hear some green. Oh no, the blue and green. Hey, it's not easy being green, all right? Look, I see blue is leading the pack in the Zoom chat. I don't see it up on YouTube yet, and it sounded like there was a really confident blue over here on the in-person IRL stuff. So, hey, let me quick synopsis as to what's going on where. Tracking APT hackers will be a story of Baby Shark and some malware. We can always tune back to that. We can pivot and go back to what we might be interested in. Vulnerability discovery and disclosures is all about some virtual events and online conferencing stuff. Think Zoom. We can pivot back to that if we'd like. Cyber criminals have passion too is an exploration with the quantum builder. Now hackers are building businesses. And we've also got some, let me see how well this thing loads. Supply chain exploits and threats for hey, backup managers and ransomware and vulnerabilities in there. So again, we can pivot back to any of these. We also have some errata stuff that I just wanted to pull out of the hat if we're up for it and if we have time, and we'll tell some super cool stories. But hey, let's go behind the scenes here. Let's break out of this little mess and let's go blue, because I think that's what I was hearing everyone saying. So blue. All right. This is my Uno codes. Go for slideshow. Cyber criminals have passion too in the quantum builder story. So on hackers build businesses. So hey, let me be totally transparent and upfront in that this is a story that I actually told to a couple of business owners, a couple of managed service providers or small mid-market companies that are doing their thing and trying to learn how cybersecurity matters to them, or if it does, if it even does. Like, hey, look, do I have to care about this whole nerdy, geeky cyber thing? The reality is yes, obviously. And I think some folks might have seen the story, some folks may have not. But again, if we get bored, hey, yell at me, tell me where we want to go next. I wanted this choose your own adventure. So look, if you didn't know, hackers, cyber criminals, threat actors, and adversaries have their own little enterprise. They have their whole industry. They have this underground sort of marketplace where you buy, you trade, you sell, you share malware, you give exploit kits, you give away tooling, or pay for whatever amount in dollars and Bitcoin and Doge, if that's still a thing, right? All these things that kind of enable them to keep under the radar. Hey, we've got some anonymous cryptocurrency that lets us do what we do in the shady circles here. And they do wild stuff. Here's a thread on xss.is. I believe this is one of the Russian hacker forums, and I think that's okay for me to say. Anyway, this fella says, hey, Oakley Herod, look, I'm buying Microsoft Office 365 logins in bulk. Payment terms, I only need Bitcoin. I only want to do this in Bitcoin. Message me on Telegram, Paul Kreiner from Eleanor 1312, which is a little bit weird. Anyway, it's wild to see this is one forum of many. Folks might be familiar with raid forums. Folks might be familiar with exploit.in. Folks might be familiar. I think there's cracked.io, or I might have that totally wrong. But a lot of this is even on ClearNet, like not even in Tor, hidden Tor onion sites, and a lot of that stuff that you could only get in the dark web, quote unquote. And I've made some videos on this if you've seen some of my YouTube stuff. Fascinating to just look at that world and understand it. All of this, of course, is kind of through Google Translate. So you're going to see broken English, you're going to see some weird stuff. But it's crazy to go look through some of those marketplaces and just see what folks are up to. Hey, I want some RAT or command and control framework C2 that can bypass antivirus. I'm looking for pen testers, initial access brokers, things that might already sell me access to get into this organization, to go ahead and then do their own exploitation, whether it's ransomware, whether it's cryptocurrency mining, all that stuff. You can kind of extrapolate here with your own imagination, but it's like, look, I'm looking for tax office info, forms, W-2s, et cetera, et cetera. And there's even some drama. This is kind of a fun one. I don't know if folks are familiar, but look, there is a people's court where it's a sub-segment of a lot of these forums where you can say, hey, have you been scammed? Have you been dethroned? Has someone, I don't know, pulled a trick on you and they never paid for a job? Or, hey, you were looking to get a product that you paid for and you never got it. And it's like a weird sort of judicial system where like, hey, ransomware, I don't know, what's the one that got in some heat? Ragnar Locker or Conti, looking at some of the affiliates and how they partner with smaller cohorts to do ransomware business. And it's wild that, hey, it's sort of like a veto or a jury that says, hey, this person has dethroned me. I was working with this affiliate program. Usually the payment always came. All of a sudden, it didn't. Something like that. And it's crazy to see that judge and jury that make these decisions as to whether or not they can remain present on the forum or be part of this underground marketplace and stuff like that. I just wanted to tease that idea. I just wanted to get that, I don't know, in your mind, because there are some wild things that you can see when you get into world conflict. I don't think I even have to mention, hey, Russia, Ukraine. Conti was making some pretty bold statements. I don't think I have any screenshots of those, but I also wanted to dangle this idea and that everyone, you, me, my friends, my family, your friends, your family, everyone has this idea of success. And whether that's like being an entrepreneur, whether that's rocking their business, what they do, what their life venture is. And it's kind of cool in a really, really weird way that hackers and cyber criminals have this exact same idea. And like they know what they want to do to consider themselves successful. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we explore some of those cheeky dark web sites. Because, okay, Tor, hidden onion sites, this is a weird thing. And again, take this with a grain of salt. Could very well be a scam, very well not be legitimate, very well just fake. But here's a hidden PayPal, right? They say, look, our services are fast, reliable, convenient. And they're trying to build a business around cybercrime. They're like, hey, we'll scan, we'll scam, we'll get some PayPal accounts and details for you. And they've got this website where they publicly proclaim that. And they say, we're the best of the best. Hey, check out our testimonials. Check out what our customers say. They're building about this persona, their real reputation. I don't know if folks are familiar, and you, again, might have seen some of this in my own videos, but there's a Hacktown, which is a cyber criminal university, so to speak. And they, again, have that exact page. Check out our reviews. Check out our testimonials. Check out when we're in the news. You can see us. Hey, we got on a podcast. Look at that. Someone got an interview with us. It says, hey, the first 10 minutes is an audio clip about Hacktown. Most of it isn't true, but you'll find truth in it. I don't know what that means. Really interesting, though, that they sell courses on how to be a hacker, how to do that cybercrime stuff. I've got an armory where they give malware here and there, toolkits, rats, C2 stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And even when you get into like stuff that really has a lot of meaning to it, like ransomware, when the city of Oakland is hit by ransomware, or when Five Guys is hit by ransomware, that one really hurt. That one was tugging at my heartstrings. One of my favorite burger place got hit with ransomware. Anyway, this is one of the really interesting ones. I think this is Avedon, and I might have that wrong. But their Onion site and even some of the locations online say, look, if you got hit with ransomware, hey, submit a ticket. Just let us know. We're here to offer customer support. We're here to offer the best that we can for our business and our service to you. And let's say upload one of your files to decrypt it, to decode it. You can attach one file for free as proof that our decryptors work. That's kind of weird. Like, hey, you got a little customer service for being a victim of ransomware. And when Lockbit Black, I don't know if folks were tracking this one. I think this was a couple months ago. Lockbit, another ransomware group, was kind of like chest thumping and super duper proud and braggadocio. Like, look, guys, we just released Lockbit 3.0. It's the fastest ransomware encryptor out on the streets. It's the best around. And it got leaked. Like the programmers and developers, or I think there was some upset conversations that they just released it. They gave out the code and it was accessible to any layman, any person, myself, you, anyone, to go download the Lockbit encryptor, even the builder to prepare the encryptor and the decryptor. And it just got out on the open internet. So I, or you, or anyone could start their own ransomware cybercrime syndicates. And we're like, huh, that's a really interesting thing. What happens when your business has some sort of intellectual property leak when you're a criminal? Kind of a weird thought. And looking back into those forums, of course, there are representatives and liaisons and affiliates for all these groups. Conti, Lockbit, Revil, when that was a thing, Black Matter, Ragnar Locker, etc. So there was a thread of like, what's going on? How did this happen? How did Lockbit's code, their ransomware builder, get leaked onto the public internet? Everyone's thinking, did Lockbit get hacked? Were their servers compromised? Were they infiltrated? And there's a big long thread. And Lockbit, again, their liaison, their support, Lockbit Sup, comes out and says, hey, don't worry about it. We are not breached. We're not hacked. We just had a really angry programmer who just didn't believe in the mission anymore, and he put it out on the internet. And then this is a response to a previous comment. This is Den Nicholas. Hey, we're glad that you're still here. We're glad everything's okay. Otherwise, those intrigues and those competitors might have been jumping at the bits. Competitors in the ransomware scene. Again, wild. And Lockbit says, hey, you know what? Dogs bark. The caravan moves on. Again, this is through Google Translate, so take that for what you will. But it's so cool when everyone's saying like, oh, wow, man, hey, it's free advertising because everyone's panicking about this. The industry's upset. What's going on? Lockbit says, hey, it's free advertising. They're talking about us. We are back in the limelight, baby. Crazy stuff. But other cool things just to bring to your attention, and I know I'm teeing this all up to get to one of the cybercrime stories with Quantum Builder. I don't know if folks are familiar with Genesis, genesis.market. This is ClearNet, so you can go literally in your browser, genesis.market. I think it's invite only, but if you were to log in, if you were to have an account, it is a marketplace to sell a whole lot of those session cookies, like hijacked web browser sessions. Like, hey, we knew that you logged in with this username and password, and the web server says, cool, I trust you are who you say you are. Here's the cookie. Here's your name tag. Here is so you can continue to be authenticated with this website. That's super duper valuable because then you don't need that login or that username and password anymore. You just carry around with this little name tag and the cookie that says, I can go wherever I say to go. It's the ticket to ride. But what if hackers and threat actors get their hands on that? Well, then they can impersonate you. Then they can log in as you. You guys are probably super familiar with this. Hey, cross-site scripting, right? You want to steal those cookies. Think of a marketplace that's just selling that. Hey, get whatever access you want. And there are a couple of bots that'll scrape these sort of things. And I think this is a bad screenshot because all these things have like 0 for their count right now. But they were tracking, we got something for Google, Amazon, eBay, PayPal, et cetera, et cetera. That's a really weird one. I'll be the first to admit I haven't played much with Genesis Market because I'm not a cyber criminal, right? But it's wild to see that marketplace, and it's wild to see what threat actors might do. But it's an interesting thing. And if I might, I may use this as a segue. How are they going to get those session cookies? How are they going to get that access? Oftentimes they do that with like a phishing email, right? They trick the user into willingly giving that away, or it's just stolen from, downloading an info stealer malware, trying to deceive them and lie so that some code is ran or something enables malware to run and the threat actors get in. It's all about tricking the user oftentimes. And I know that's so boring. I know that's not very elite and very sexy because, you're not exploiting some unpatched server out there on the internet. No, you're just setting a trap. But think of a whole lot of other cybercrime malware families. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Emotet or TrickBot. Those are pretty big ones, and that they'll just gain access. And they oftentimes act as the initial access brokers that then sell that access and give it to others to drop ransomware, mine cryptocurrency, bring it into a botnet, crap like that. Now, there's a really interesting thing because Emotet, one of those malware families that would get initial access and get some of that initial compromise, would go into hiatus. They took a little sabbatical. They're out on vacation over at the beach, maybe. But then they get back in action. And we saw this kind of uptick a little bit way back in November. And there's a really, really cool thing when they get the emails or a victim were to receive one of these, it's a attached file and a password protected file. They were using, they used to use like XLM macros, so Microsoft Excel and the Microsoft Office suite. But there's a really neat thing because all of those malicious Office documents would have macros attached to them so they could execute code and really run logic. But there's a lot of conversations. Hey, is Microsoft going to disable macros? I think they did, and then they didn't. They flip-flopped on that. I don't even remember where it landed. But they came out at one point when Emotet jumped in and said, hey, what if we attach this little lure? What if we have our payload in our macro file, in our malicious maldoc? And what if we tricked the user and told them, hey, this file is incompatible. This file, it needs an older or regular version of Office. So what you can do is go move this file into the Microsoft Office templates directory. Now, I don't know, again, how many users or poor innocent victims are going to know what to do or how to do that. But if they do, that's all they need. They just need one to fall for this lure when they spray and pray, when they cast this wide net to see what else they can get their hands on. So fascinating thing, if you aren't familiar, macros in malicious malware documents don't actually detonate without you clicking enable content and enable editing. But if it's in this special location, Microsoft Office templates, doesn't matter. It just, boom, it goes. You don't have to have that prompt. It doesn't offer the user, do you want to allow this to run? It just does it. That's by default. You can go mess with it and play with it in the settings. And we chatted about that a little in I think a YouTube video, but cool one. So I drive down this road to tell you, look, this is a stupid, dumb thought leadership, fluffy statement, but it's a reality. We're not going to solve this with more code. Not going to solve this with more nerd stuff, more zeros and ones. It's not a tech problem. It's people. We have to train awareness and train people to not fall for this stuff. I don't know what happened to the city of Oakland. I don't know if you all saw that, the ransomware incident. So when we try to bring this education out to people, we say, look, the best way you can kind of fight the enemy is to know the enemy. know what they're going to do, know what their tricks and techniques are. Best defense is knowing the offense. And that boils down to the education and awareness. Now, it's a matter of making things palatable for anyone, not just us that are already in the scene on this thing. We already know cybersecurity and we love capture the flag. We can crack open some Wireshark, run some Nmap scans. Not everyone else can. So we did this silly thing some time ago where we play a dumb game show. I don't know if folks are familiar with Whose Line Is It Anyway? So we had fun with it and we said, hey, whose crime is it anyway? Because people really like to see stuff. Like they just don't believe it when they tell you it. I want to put it in front of your face. I want to get it in your eyeballs so you know this is what it looks like. So we play like a dumb Pokemon game, right? We say, hey, who's this threat actor? Whose crime is it anyway? Who's that Pokemon? And we do this for a couple of rounds, and it was a fun, silly thing that we did. But then we tell them, like, check it out. Hey, these are the owners of those Russian hacker forums, and you want to see a picture of them. You want to see the reality of it. Hey, here's the fellow that's providing some of the services and building out all of these forums, agreeing to these things. Another one, check it out. He was a hacker that was rolling up another forum or selling access and doing some filed stuff. I had one, I think, that was tracking the raccoon stealer. If folks are familiar with some of the info stealers, there's one called Raccoon. And the picture of him is wild. It's just like a little kid. It's just a teenage fella holding like stacks of money to his ear, like the meme picture. Everyone's talking about, hey, he lives in this location. He loves his expensive cars. Everyone's rocking their Lamborghini. Wild stuff. But I think, hey, take a look. See these people in action. There was a recent one that came out with a lot of the UK announcements. I wanted to pull that screenshot for you, but I hadn't. We might be able to track it down because Gitworm shared it on Twitter. So let me tell you the story. I'm sorry. I've been doing a whole lot of build up and kind of setting the stage here, but I thought maybe that'll be good for this little thing. And folks listening in might already be familiar, but if you're looking around on those cybercrime marketplaces and those forums, one thing that was for sale was this framework, was this toolkit called the Quantum Builder. And it let the user, super duper easy, like plug and play, just press the easy button. It let you create a payload, create some malware stager that you want to run, and bundle it up and hide it inside of a Windows shortcut, like a .lnk file you might have on the desktop to link and bounce to something else. So the Quantum Builder was for sale on the dark web or in these cybercrime forums, xss.is, right? And over at work, over at my day job, we were tracking like, we want to learn a little bit more about this whole LNK stuff. What can we do for detectors? What can we build out for prevention and response and all this? So we wanted to do security research, knowing that this adversary tooling is out there. So I went a little bit of a weird and conventional way. I thought, I wonder if I could get my hands on Quantum Builder. I wonder if I can access it. I wonder if anyone else already has access to it, or I wonder if I can just get it. So I asked him. I reached out over on Telegram, because he has his links in his bio, right, or whatever, the signature of the post that he does in the XSS or these shady hacker forums. And I said, hey, Quantum, where and how can I purchase the Quantum Builder? He responds, which is surprising. I was like, well, okay, I didn't expect that to actually happen. He says, hey, we can complete the deal here if that's all good with you. I'll accept Bitcoin or whatever other cryptocurrency for 7% extra to cover the exchange fees, because he wants it in Bitcoin. I was like, wow, okay. If I actually had some cryptocurrency, I'm not that smart. I don't know how to do that stuff yet. I would have been able to buy this thing. And then he responds and he messages and he sends back, nice username, by the way. And I'm like, oh no. I forgot to just change my Telegram name to just my username. So I was just messaging him as John Hammond. It's like, well, nice username, John Hammond. And I'm like, oh crap, this is weird. I'm going to disengage. I'm not going to respond. I'm not caught red-handed, whatever. I'm just going to go away. I didn't respond. And a day later, I don't know if you saw the timestamp, hey, September 20th, now September 21st. This is when I was doing some of the dark web documentary stuff. He says, now John Hammond made this video about tools on a market where I sell this builder, XSS. What a crazy coincidence. He says, look, if you're the real deal, send me proof. I'll give you the builder for free. I like your content. What? This is really weird. He says, hey, the timing's spot on too. I'd be surprised if it's not you. Keep up the good work, man. Very strange feeling. And I'm trying to make a joke of it. I'm trying to make it humble and friendly and colloquial. Like, oh, whoopsies, that's embarrassing. I probably should have changed my name, had better OPSEC. And he keeps grilling. He says, look, if this is actually you, let me know. I'll let you have the builder for free. And honestly, if you want more info on like the underground cybercrime world, if you want to see what everyone's up to, if you want to chat about this thing from the inside, I'll do it. And he says, if you want the builder, though, I need some kind of proof to confirm your identity. And I'm thinking, well, okay, this is just weird. I'd love to do both. Whatever you're cool with. I just don't want to be stepping on any toes. I know this is a very weird situation. He said, I'm cool with it. I'm fine with both. I just don't know who this is. If you can come up with some way to prove your identity, we could do it. So I'm like, okay. How's this look? I was just at my desk, at a sticky note and a Sharpie. I'm like, hey, Quantum, how's this? He says, that's for sure enough. I'm like, this is hysterical and really weird. Just trying to make light of the weird situation. He says, hey, cool. I buy it. I'm in. Let's chat, John. But look, I'm about to log off. Is it okay if we talk tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. I'm good, man. And he comes back to me, and it's really, really weird because I realize I'm talking to a CEO, right? I'm talking to like the director of this company that sells this product, just the guy. And he says, hey, I'm having some issues regarding flights. I'm not going to be on today. Look, he's a busy guy, of course. He's signing deals, doing business. My team is handling all the customers, but I want to chat with you personally. I want to give you this VIP treatment, a little white glove experience. So if it's okay, let's postpone tomorrow. I'll make sure to get you some Telegram accounts to keep up and cover the inconvenience. Just throws in some perks for me. I'm like, sure, whatever, man. I'm good with it. Comes back September 25th. He gives me this RDP access, the IP address, username and password. Says, hey, I left some info on the README or info.txt, but you should find everything you need. If you have any issues, let me know. I'll be online. I'm like, wow, okay, there's some sweet deal there. He's giving me the real VIP treatment. So of course, like I have to, curiosity's kicking in. I RDP over there. And I don't know if you can see the icons on the desktop. There's Telegram 1, Telegram 2, Telegram 3, bot, just like stolen, I don't know, a cracked account that is just given to me. Logging in and clicking on that stuff, there's some weird, heinous stuff in there. But I'm like, oh man, this is the cybercrime syndicates. I'm seeing stuff that is not safe for work, that I should not be seeing. But there's info.txt and there's a quantum builder. Click around, make a payload, HTA, LNK, wild shenanigans. But I think, if I may, there's kind of a cool little story with that. And that, again, hackers are entrepreneurs. They're passionate about what they're doing. They're selling their stuff. They love that free advertising, whether it's, hey, no press is bad press. No publicity, no media is not bad for them. And they want to land a deal. They want me. They want anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, look, if you want to go on product, jump in. Here's that sweet customer service. Here are the testimonials. Here's the FAQ. And I drove this point home for the business owners that I told the story to, that hackers are entrepreneurs too. But that's the quantum builder. That was a fun story that I hope would be kind of fun. And I realized that, man, I just ate up half of our time together. So I don't know, unless we want to speed run something else, unless we're curious about anything more, if we want to chat about that little telltale, or we could go back to the drawing board. How's everybody feeling? Am I keeping you awake?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Cool. Where do we go next, everybody? This is fun. Green?
Hands up for green.
Oh, shoot.
Hands up for anything else. Okay, green it is, I guess.
So green, I feel like is an old story, but hopefully still fun for us to play with. And there are some other interesting ones if we have time for it or how long we want to hang out. But there's some weird ethical dilemmas. Anyway, folks are yelling at me. Let's do green. And I think I have some folks in the audience. I remember I see Tim nerding out. He says, "Hey, I remember that one." So this is Baby Shark, the malware strain, not the song. And this is a really, really cool case study from day job, from work. This picture is a meme that has a certain amount of Easter egg inside joke to it. And I don't know if I'll be able to disclose all the inside info on that, but we'll still have fun anyway. This dates back to February, I think, of last year, right? So we were tracking some advanced persistent threat, or an APT, in one of our partners and one of our organizations that we support, one of the businesses that we're helping provide security for. And it's known tradecraft attributed to a North Korean threat actor that targets national security think tanks. And it's also the most viewed video on YouTube, Baby Shark. With that said, we originally got some alert from our analysts, or some a great friend of ours, another great peer and coworker, part of the crew, that said, "Hey guys, yo team, can anyone please take a look at this file? It's kind of weirding me out. I don't know what to do with it. There's more to pull on this thread." I got this from a Google Drive inside of a auto run. So there's an auto run on the victim and target machine. The script is a Visual Basic script, and the auto run is called Google Updater. Just hide in plain sight or whatever. So we cracked this thing open, and forgive me, and now I'm putting code on the screen, but for all of us nerds having a good time, hopefully it's kind of fun. Visual Basic script, gross. Living off the land technique, though. Hey, using scripting languages or code that Windows, the target operating system, will just willingly execute. You click on this thing, it already knows what to do with it. And it's staging a couple interesting things. It's going to build out some normal.crp file. I don't know if you can see that up there. Get in some other variables to work with the file system, determining whether or not the file already exists. Really? Like, oh, have we already hit this before? Have we already detonated on this machine? Because we don't want to do that again, right? That'd be dumb. Threat actor doesn't want to do the same thing over and over again. What kind of hacker would you be if you just sent the same victim the same phishing email? It's dumb. But in the else statement, they do this get request to a Google Drive location, and they do some weird stuff with John begin and John end, some strings, cutting up code, writing to a text file. So we're like, well, this link is really interesting. Let's go take a look at that thing. And I don't know if I lost the slide here. Did I lose the slide? No. All right. I might be able to. Super quick editing on the fly. Haha. No, I killed everything. Oh, I suck at Google Slides. You'd think I'd be good at this. It's kind of my job. Completely blank Google Drive file. Completely blank. However, interesting title or name of the file. And if you actually took a look at the source code of the page, if you actually looked at the HTML, like view source on Google Drive, kind of weird. The title of this file is a bunch of nonsense, like really, really long, a whole lot of nonsense. And we're thinking, wait a second, this Visual Basic script might be like deobfuscating that code. And we try to do our homework, right? We're doing our due diligence, seeing if anyone else has seen this before. North Korea's Baby Shark malware works with the fileless technique by downloading encrypted malicious scripts from Google Drive. The scripts begin and end with some easy tags, some markers, John begin and John end. And we're at this point just laughing because we keep hearing Baby Shark in our heads. That's stuck in our head now. If it's not stuck in your head. So we write some code, right? Getting out Python, trying to do some scrappy stuff to be able to decode this. I did it originally in Visual Basic script because, hey, I like to work in the same language that this thing is kind of written in to pull out the pieces. But ultimately, we end up deobfuscating and cutting it up with Python, realizing and kind of tracking everything that they do inside of the code. Pull out a layer. Now we're on stage 2, right? Normal.crap. normal.crp. And this is wild because we're still Visual Basic script. It gets executed with like eval or global exec. And looking through the code here, it says, hey, if the username is conditional on Bob, or like username literally pulled from the system username environment string. Like if their user on this computer matches this, then do something else or just give up or just quit. So kind of odd that's like, oh, it's really looking at a person's individual name. This is redacted. This is not the person's real name. We wanted to keep, of course, the whatever confidentiality we can here. But for the sake of storytelling, we had what? Alex and Bob, or whatever. And we can see in the code here, oh, it was setting apart our cheesy quirt.vbs, setting the persistence mechanisms. But we're thinking, it's literally only going to detonate. It's got guardrails to go for this specific person. And we're noodling on this. We're thinking on this because this organization, if you might remember from the beginning of this, is not like a run-of-the-mill mom and pop lemonade stand down the street. It's a national security think tank studying arms and nukes and things for foreign relations. So seeing this from APT North Korea, it's kind of spooky. And looking at a specific user, it's a little bit spooky. And we did our OSINT, right? We do some cyber stalking. We're thinking this person was targeted. And we're, again, Googling around, seeing, hey, is anyone else seeing this? And there's some articles from Unit 42, other security research stuff with Palo Alto. And this is a trend. This has happened before. They're tracking this in 2019. I think we caught wind of this in 2021, which is wild. But we were looking at some of the files here. We're digging into the artifacts, again, trying to see what puzzle pieces are there, seeing the code that's ran, the processes that start. Hey, W script kickstarts this Visual Basic script, the scheduled tasks and auto runs from Google Updater, quote unquote. Do you see those timestamps, right? 2021. And I told you we were telling the story because when we caught this in 2022, this has been sitting there for a year. It's been just doing shady stuff, sniffing around, spooking, trying to get some information espionage at this high priority place for quite some time. I'll dig into this a little bit more, but Baby Shark, if folks aren't familiar with MITRE ATT&CK, incredible resource to be able to see, hey, what threat actors are out there, what adversary groups or what techniques are they using, what's their tradecraft. And everything that we were uncovering matched this persona, matched this criteria. We're looking at Baby Shark from Kimsuki, I think is the threat actor or adversary name. And there was more to it. We could keep peeling back the layers. We could keep finding these breadcrumbs. There's a keylogger written in PowerShell and C#. Here's some PS1 file that does inline C#, checking out browser tabs, trying to see, hey, what's present within a browser, trying to collect any of those keystrokes that users might be typing there. Again, targeted on this individual. Or it'll do some OneDrive hijacking. I think that's another exploit that is out on PacketStorm. But we're like, this is mind-blowing. This is wild. We just track in some APT threat actor on his high priority organization, and it's been sitting there for a year. But how did it happen? The question that everyone asks, like, hey, how did the hackers get in? What's the technique? And we saw from some of those other threat intel feeds, you saw Unit 42, said it comes through a phishing email. I was telling you a little bit earlier, phishing emails, dumb easy. Just have to trick the poor innocent person. So we did some more snooping. We took a look at this individual or where the email potentially might have came from, the other hosts where we saw this present in the org. And we took a look at their downloads folder with their permission. It was funny, we were getting into some strange ethical things like, hey, I want to do a little bit more analysis here, but like, can I look at your desktop? Can I look at your downloads? Because I know we're edging on like personal private territory here, even if it's a work computer. Weird ethical things to keep in mind. So we got these permissions and we start to look through antivirus logs. So at the top here, this is logs, and I think Sophos, and I don't think there's any issue with me saying that. Sophos was sniffing and trying to see everything that's downloaded, scanning it for antivirus threats, and we see this VOA Korea.zip file. And interestingly enough, they downloaded it twice. There's a VOA Korea 1.zip, the parentheses 1 after you download it a second time on accident. The original file was not there. It was gone. But VOA Korea 1 was still there. And there's an interesting thing. You can see Sophos choke on it. You can see antivirus just give up. It's like, crap, I can't examine this file. I can't. I don't know how to look through it. I'm not able to actually do my analysis. I can't slap it in the sandbox. It wasn't able to detect malware or really do any investigation on this file. Why? It's password protected. So this is when I'm like, okay, I'm switching mentality. I'm putting on a different hat from threat hunter to hacker, getting my CTF action. I'm ripping out John the Ripper, maybe Hashcat. John the Ripper with a basic, boring, not even a word list. I slap it in, finds the password VOA 2021 for the VOA Korea.doc file inside of this zip archive. And we said, hey, we found it. We came back to the organization. We said, look, guys, we see the smoking gun. But would you be willing, if it's totally okay with you, like absolutely asking for their grace here, would you mind sharing the email that you received this from? And this is unreal. So I'm pulling this together, hopefully so you can see it. I know the text might be a little bit small, but they say, here's an email from allegedly VOA or Voice of America. And they say, hi, I hope you're well. This is so-and-so with the VOA, Voice of America Korean service. I'm collecting experts' opinions on yada, yada, yada. I'm trying to write an article. I'm wanting to write a story. I want some piece of content that we can release as our journalism, publishing, media stuff. And I want to interview. I have some questions for you. Would you be willing to answer them? And this is wild. They say, hey, if you could send me your answers in the next 5 days, thanks so much. A little bit of urgency. But it's like turning the tables on a traditional spray and pray phishing email, because they're going to the victim asking for the victim to provide information. Like, would you be willing to help me on a story that I'm writing? And this comes back. I think this might be Bob in the story. Or Alice, I'm not quite sure. A lot of this is redacted, but they say, hey, I'm sorry for the delay. Look, I've checked in with my staff to answer your questions here. A funny thing, I don't know if you're catching it, Voice of America probably does not use Yahoo as their email provider. There's red flag number one. There's that education. There's that user training in the mix. And they say, hey, I got it done. Please find the answers to your questions. I hope they're useful. Please let me know if we can help with anything else. Super sweet. Innocent exchange, reporter just reaching out for info, victim falls for the trap and provides whatever info they need. This is where you get a little bit of a switcheroo. This is where threat actor says, thank you so much for this. It's great material. I did rearrange it a little bit. I want to do some editing. I want to clean it up so it's ready for publishing, right? They'd like, hey, could you mind checking my edits? Would you be willing to review the changes that I've made? To be secure, it's password protected. Give a OneDrive link, give a password, VOA 2021. Please let me know if it meets your mind. Okay. And here's the crazy thing. Whether or not this was Bob or Alice or Alex or whoever, whatever persona in this play character set that we're building out here, she says, in response, I've checked with so-and-so who said he's okay with it. Which means this email has been carbon copied to other people in the org. Again, the malware has guardrails. Hey, we're only targeting one specific person. But look, if the threat actor wanted any favors or any handouts, they just got it. Carbon copy and send that to everyone in the department. Kind of wild. And we were doing some digging and we've seen this happen before. There are stories about this over in 2020, hackers using fake media domains to trick security researchers or national security researchers, think tanks. And they tell the story talking about Voice of America exactly, claiming to be from the VOA anchor, Miss Cho. And they give an example email that say, hey, I'm over here from Washington, D.C. How are you? Yada, yada, yada. Building out this narrative, laying trust and establishing a certain amount of friendship to then do the switcheroo and give malware through a OneDrive link. This is that reporter. Real person, genuine human being, Twitter account, has an author page on Voice of America News, but threat actors impersonating them and masquerading as them. Wild. But next question. Hey, we've done a whole lot of our due diligence and digging. What about the bomb? What about the maldoc? What about the malicious macro that actually triggered? We've seen the phishing emails, but hey, what am I leaving out here? What is the phishing link? What is the lure and the hook and the mousetrap that fooled this national security research technician from an APT, Advanced Persistent Threat Actor? It's so dumb. It says, hey, this document's created an earlier version of Microsoft Word. To view this content, please click Enable Editing, and then please click Enable Content. Pretty please, with a cherry on top. It's so dumb. It is literally the 101 cybersecurity hygiene that you get in like mandated training. And it sucks that we fall for this. It sucks that we don't have that education and awareness out for greater folks, for laymen, for folks that just aren't the elite nerds that we might be. But this is how it happens. Even from an advanced persistent threat that's supposed to be like top dog for hackers, they're like, pretty please run my malware. So dumb. If you wanted to dig into it to get a little bit nerdy here, hey, really fascinating to see there's a little bit more guardrails. And this is actually an interesting thing that you can do with like malware and malicious samples. It checks, hey, what if Bitdefender's running? Or what if Norton Security is running? Or what if like endpoint protection from whatever antivirus and security mechanism is alive and running on that box? If that process is kicking, give up. Don't detonate. Don't run our malware, because look, we're going to tip our hand. We're going to let someone know it's going to get caught. That's why we did those cheesy tricks with the password protected zip file. Antivirus can't scan that. But maybe we aren't the user that we want to be running as, or there are some other protections in place. Don't run. But if you dig into some of the other things, you might notice all of the registry settings, all of the configurations that determine whether or not macros will be scanned or ran or other things will actually be allowed, turns them all off, flips the switch, disable attachments, disable searching through, disable analyzing, VBA warnings, any other logs or audits, kill OneDrive, and keep downloading and grabbing new stages of the malware. Crazy, wild, but I hope that shows maybe a little bit of education on, man, goodness, that's all it took. Pretty please run my malware for a year's worth of cyber espionage and bananas. Well, hey, with that in mind, I realize we have just about 10 minutes left to chat for a slotted, slotted time together. I don't know if we wanted to keep bantering and hanging on for any other fun stories, or if we wanted to roll to questions. I am all yours, my friends. So whatever's interesting, whatever's fun, what are you up to? What are you thinking?
Anybody have any questions you'd like to ask John?
Crickets.
Any favorite poems in the public sector that you'd like to share?
Any favorite poems in the public sector?
Yeah, any favorite hacks that you, or exploits, or anything that any examples you'd like to see share in the public sector and lessons that we can learn from that? Or in just large organizations in general.
Yeah. Oh man, I so wish I could speed run through some of the other sweet stuff for you guys, and we'll try it, because a lot of them, I really like the web category of capture the flag. I really like, hey, the simple stuff that like is the public facing application, like is the external attack surface that is the first thing that hackers could get to if the phishing link doesn't work, if any of their mouse traps don't work. So that's the small simple stuff like SQL injection, like cross-site scripting, like authentication bypass, or just weird command injection stuff that just shouldn't be on a website but absolutely is. How quickly can I show or tell the story here? Blah blah blah. So R1 Soft and 6 Connects and vFairs. 6 Connects might be a little bit more fun, and I'll absolutely speed run it, because I know we don't have a whole lot of time together, and I'd love to get some more better questions for you all. This is a virtual events platform where they had a whole lot of braggadocio stuff. Look, COVID's rampant. Look, the world's switching to remote work. Hey, we're going to have to get together in a virtual environment, so it's all on the web. Internet of Things, baby. And we're thinking, hey, what happens when you access this API? What data can we get with just the stupid F12 networking tools and developer tools? It dumps all of the users that might be present in this session or in this chat. And what if you increment that number up and down? Well, hey, it'll get all everyone else's in all their sessions. So that's small, simple stuff. Even if it's toggling IDOR or insecure direct object reference, was leaking IP addresses, yada, yada, yada. The better example of this, not just the ones that we were able to scrape for VFairs, because that impacted like potential water treatment plants or Food and Drug Administration events that they were hosting in this platform, other webcasts from relief funds, yada, yada, yada. And then we were finding these and trying to do responsible disclosure. And that's something that I want to drive home when we get to responsible disclosure. That's absolutely necessary out there in real world. Absolutely out there. Be the good guy here. And it's really, really great when they message and come back like, hey, after I say what everything was wrong, they're like, cool, we fixed it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the process like it should be. Other example that, again, I'll speed run because I know we don't have a whole lot of time together. Another platform riddled with bugs. Hey, stupid F12 hacking. I can see all the chat room IDs for everything else that might be present in this virtual event platform. And I'm like, I can go join whatever chat I want. I can go in any session. Doesn't matter. We can chat with all these people that are attending, like in Zoom or whatever. There's like an automated message to send what's new. But what if we were to go mess with my own profile or go view anyone else's profile? I can, of course, change my profile picture. I can change my information for my account. But what if I change someone else's profile? That's hysterical. Dumb IDOR, dumb, easy stuff. Cross-site scripting, of course. Hey, let me change my own bio. You guys know from Capture the Flag. Look, that'll let you steal cookies. That'll let you impersonate it or drive by download to other locations. I really, really love those web things, especially when even those stupid, simple profile picture uploads, doesn't matter if it's a picture or not. Let's get a PHP web shell. Kind of crazy. SQL injection, of course, we just beat this thing up. I was doing blind SQL injection to loop through Pacific payloads. All those things in the web world can be the low-hanging fruit that can be the way in. Talking through it, hey, we're reaching out to the security point of contact. So I'm telling you this other story when it's not an immediate responsive, we fixed it. We sent him an email September 19th. Sent another email. Hey guys, it's been a week. Just making sure you got this. We talked on the phone a few days ago. Another week. Hey guys, still waiting. Finally, they come back and they say, hey, let me kick the can to some of my other people. Hey, they can take care of this. Let me get you on the phone, yada, yada, yada. And it just kicks the can down the road. One of my talking points, if I may, is, hey, not everyone's going to take cybersecurity as seriously as you do. And that is so, so evident. So be that driving force, be that change. Look for those vulnerabilities. And with the white hat hacker, with the good intent, with the want to improve the landscape, not just hack stuff for the sake of beating stuff up. It's sexy, it's cool, it's elite, but do it for the right reasons and make the world better. But yeah, sorry, answer to your question. I know I was super long-winded there and I speed ran another fun story for us. But that I think might be my takeaway for what are those vulnerabilities in the real world that can lead you to some other crazy stuff. R1 Soft is another fun one, but I will stop rambling because I think questions might be a little bit more interesting for you, all right?
Thank you, John. That was pretty cool.
Cool.
Before we open it up to more class questions, I want to ask a quick selfish question that I saw in the chat earlier. Someone asked, did you take a look at any of our challenges? I'm not sure if you had a chance to
Yes. No, it's funny. I played a little bit last night and I was like, oh, hang on, I got to make this presentation. So I played, what did I saw? Small stuff. I got started with, we got MCR, My Chemical Romance. That was a really, really cool one. So kudos to you all. I think we just did the, 85 years, 85 something. Metaverse was also nice. but again, the small stuff. I haven't been able to get into any of the elite, super cool hacker stuff. But you guys have put on an incredible event. It's awesome to see all the speakers that you brought in. You've had some great challenges. So please don't be clapping for me. Be clapping for all of you. Great stuff. You should be proud of this work.
Thank you, John. That was really cool. All right. Does anyone have any other questions for John? I'm not sure if there are questions in the chat as well that we could address, but I'll open it up first if anyone here wants to ask a question real quick.
I've also been given permission to go over, so if you guys have the appetite for it, we can do something else.
Let's see here. I'm just get ready. Okay. I don't see any questions. Do you guys want to hear John's last story? Oh, we're getting some nods here, so feel free.
All right, so totally impromptu. Let me try and share my screen again. Zoom is slowing down. So we had the R1 soft vulnerability, and that's a little bit more hacking. We have some malware analysis that might be interesting for you. And we also have some of the ethical dilemma, weird stories that no one ever tells you. Print nightmare. So let me go back to the top of this. How does screen share look? Can you see me okay? I think so.
Yeah, we're good.
We have 3 directions. I was pulling a fast one on you, which sounds fun.
What are people interested in hearing? Ethical dilemmas?
Yes.
Ethical dilemmas?
We're getting ethical dilemmas here, yeah.
Ethical dilemmas. Cool. Look at this freaking dump of slides. Oh, like stuff I can try to pull out of the hat. Hope it's fun. So let's get to some of those ethical, weird, oddball dilemmas. Are folks familiar with Print Nightmare? This was a vulnerability, I think maybe a year back or 2 years back. I'm awful. But it was when the Windows service, Windows print spool service, just had a weird like remote code execution vulnerability. And it doubled not only remote code execution, but local privilege escalation. Because, hey, it's running, of course, on the Windows box. So it can just be vulnerable outside and internally. Now, there's a whole lot of other cool conversations that we were having with cybercrime and ransomware. Another sweet actor was Conti, and Conti was one of the folks that have been in the news quite a bit because they're like the ransomware organization that we know the most about because they've had so many weird OPSEC mistakes. Like they leaked their playbook. They leaked their internal notes. They publicly have done silly stunts out on the open internet. So we've seen in their chat logs with like rocket message and all stuff like this, and even their playbook. And if you weren't familiar, because this has to be monkey see, monkey do for so many people, it's literally a checklist. It's the play-by-play. What do I need to type in? What do I need to copy and paste to do damage, to deploy ransomware? So when this got leaked, everyone's like, wow, we can look into the tradecraft. We can do our detection engineering. We can do threat intel, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, Print Nightmare was a wild thing because it was a very, very widespread vulnerability. Okay, yeah, it's 2021. Because it's every Windows box. It's every modern Windows operating system. But people are always super duper interested in, oh, how do you do it remotely? How can I make this like a one-click hack sort of thing? But myself and another great friend of mine, another security researcher I work with, had this thought like, dude, people keep writing in this in like C#. People keep writing in like an executable file. What if we had like a simple PowerShell implementation that could just slap in the command line to do local privilege escalation, to do it internally from an already compromised machine, and just pop open. I used to be Joe Schmo. I used to be this low tier user account. Now I'm NT authority system. Now I'm God mode, admin, super user of the computer. And we did it. We wrote it. And it was really, really cool. We were like proud of it. We were like, wow, hey, we're elite hackers. We love capture the flag. We love pen testing. And we want to bring out cool code. So we're like chest thumping. We shared it on Twitter. We try to get that clout to be like, wow, man, we're real security researchers. I'm cool. Trust me. Please believe me. I'm really cool. And that's the story. But I got this LinkedIn message. And I was like at the movie theater. We were watching the new Spider-Man movie when I got this message. And this fellow reaches out to me and says, hey, no blame on you. Like, but your script, your print nightmare proof of concept, that exploit that you released on GitHub, it was used in a company today in an attack. I'm like, oh crap. Can you tell me a little bit more? Was this a big attack? Like, is it public? Has the company name been disclosed? Is this going to be in the news? Is this headlines? He said, hey, can you call me? And I'm at the movie theater, like stuff in my face with popcorn. He says, look, I've been deep into this incident all day. It took down a really big company. Like, I'm really sorry. I'm not in a place to call at the moment. Hanging out with Spider-Man. Email me. And this is a really weird feeling, by the way, because I feel like I burned this guy's house down. I'd never seen this before. So I get this email. He says, hey, John, I know we were chatting on LinkedIn per our conversation. I'm investigating this incident where Invoke Nightmare, your function in your code, was used and attacked against the company. From what we can tell, hey, they got access via VPN credentials, and then the attacker ran your print nightmare exploit to install the malicious print driver and full compromise system access, of course, on a whole lot of servers. He sent me a screenshot of the event log, like Windows Event Viewer, and there is my name in the event log from the comments, like synopsis description of the code. And this is like, oh my goodness, terrifying. Again, I don't know how to feel. Like, weird gut punch, heart-wrenching thing where just like, hang on, I wrote code that I wanted to have the right reasoning and rationale. Like, hey, I wanted to help with detection engineering. Hey, I want to help determine indicators of compromise. I want to do this to validate that you're patching properly. We come out there with all these right reasons, but it's blown up. This is that repository. This is the proof of concept code that they had. Now, I teased this in the beginning because the Conti ransomware gang, when their playbook was released, had our print nightmare exploit in the privilege escalation part of their ransomware guide, checklist of run these commands, press the go button, easy peasy, here's how to hack. And great. Whoops, we've accidentally now gotten our name in one of the prolific ransomware gangs operators playbook. Kind of wild. And I don't know what to think about that. I don't know if that's ever something that you might ever think of, because hey, look, we like to catch on to the new hot trendy stuff, especially when, the news is breaking, vulnerabilities and exploits, 0 days aglow. But we got to give the world a chance to patch. We got to give the world a chance to recover, because that's ours. And it was a very, very strange feeling to see that just get blown up because we put out this code. So I don't think I'll do that again. I don't think I'll touch that hot stove again. Realizing, totally cognizant that, whoops, I did that with Felina when that came about. When we wrote a log4j tester, those are the things that we kind of caught some wind of. Because we wrote this little log4j scanner, and then all of a sudden it got bundled up into like OWASP tester. It got bundled up into like a burp suite extension to just automatically exploit for log4j. So this really, really weird thing, and I don't know, that might be the driving point that I wanted to bring home, is that you don't often think about it when you're trying to do security research and you're trying to bring out vulnerabilities to help the world, when it goes in the wrong direction, and you end up in ransomware gangs playbook and exploit other companies. Last Easter egg for the story, I ran into this person at DEF CON, and it was the weirdest moments because, again, he said, hey, John, what's up? I'm a fan. Let's hang out. Let's chat. I want to get a picture, yada, yada, yada. Same way we do. He said, I was that guy that emailed you about our company getting hacked by Print Nightmare. Worst part is, this conversation happened in the men's bathroom because he's beside me at the stall, like urinals on the wall. Very, very strange. A strange story to tell, but I hope that might be an oddball one, and maybe give you another pause and questioning look when you want to write this hot, sweet new exploit and give that out to the world. Wait a little bit. Give it some time. Focus on the defense. not always offense. So, with that, I know I'm a little bit over, but how's everybody doing?
Yeah, thank you. We're getting a lot of thumbs up. You're doing great. I guess. Any questions for John? Oh, do you want to come speak to the mic?
So, with a lot of your stories, it always started that you were given a sort of lead and then you started sniffing around. I guess the primary question is, how do you get that initial, like, where does that initial lead come from which you start, like, sniffing around? Because with, like, a CTF, you have a starting point and then you start, like, playing around. But, like, you always have the starting point, so how do you get that?
Super good question. And I'll just say it aloud again, of course, for whatever reason folks weren't able to hear it on live stream one way or the other. But it's, hey, how do you get the lead, or how do you get the starting breadcrumb that you could then spin off of and pull the thread? Because sometimes you aren't always given that. It's not presented to you. And I'll be the first to admit, like, yes, absolutely, you're totally right. A lot of times you just have something fall in your lap, and that's how you can start to explore and dig into it further. And I'll say that for one reason. First, I'll mention, like, hey, that's because of our community collaboration. That's because we literally stand on the shoulders of giants. Not to be cliche, not to be trite, but that's just how we come together and what we can do to improve. The answer to your question, I think, is if you do the manual effort of hunting and that black box testing and just fuzzing and having spray and pray the same way that maybe even a threat actor might do. And actually not, forget I said that. But like, fuzzing is really the right word. Just poking at stuff. Like, hey, I just got this cool new game. I just bought whatever, something Age of Empires. What happens if I give it this input rather than this other? Hey, I just bought the software from like a Best Buy. I don't know. Super duper curious what happens if I type this sort of syntax into the payload. It's when you're guessing. It's when you're just curious what falls out when I'm throwing stuff at the wall. I think that comes from a whole lot of the curiosity that you gain in Capture the Flag, because a lot of times, hey, you might have a challenge description. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes the author is like, no. Here's a link. You're on your own. And there's like nothing there for you to go off of. Check those headers. I don't know. Hey, try to connect to the service, not over TCP, but UDP. Weird. I don't know. All those things where you just kind of get a little bit creative and want to see something fall out. With that, I realize it's a super vague and really broad answer, but I think that's the right answer. Just poke at stuff. That's the only way that you'll get it with the lead without it happening naturally from someone else giving it to you. With the absolute understanding that that takes time. Understanding that, hey, that means a little bit of stubbornness. That means a little bit of grit and determination. Like, I want something to fall out of this and I'm not going to give up until something does. I'm going to tie this to Capture the Flag one more time, because I know that, hey, this is our event. That's what you do in Capture the Flag. And when you're staying up late and when you're beating your head against the wall, it's because you're waiting for the shoe to drop. That, I think, is the bridge. And that is how we can take the same stuff that we did in whatever CTF challenge. Hey, you saw me rip it through stupid Visual Basic code. Oh, we took a look at some of those weird SQL injections and cross-site scripting. You learn this in your challenges. So I always sound like a broken record. I don't want to be beating the dead horse, but when I kind of scream and shout from the rooftops, Capture the Flag is the way to learn cybersecurity. I think it is. That's how it is. So sorry, I hope that answered your question. I know I kind of spun it into another direction, but more kudos and credit to you guys for putting on a fantastic event. And thank you for letting me come hang out with you all.
We really appreciate this. Thank you so much for coming. I hope everyone, I had a really good time listening to John this time. So, oh, I think there's like a question in the chat. Sorry.
Keep them coming.
Sorry, YouTube chat. It just says, you mentioned attending Coast Guard Academy. To what extent has that structured education there helped you in your career?
I'm not sure you
Ooh,
heard that guy.
perfect loaded question. It did not. you, you guys were perfectly started the laugh track and then it muted. Oh, that was hysterical. So no, I studied electrical engineering because at the time the Coast Guard Academy did not have a computer science degree nor a cybersecurity degree. And as I was leaving, they were getting started with a cyber systems major. And that there aren't any like academic officers or teachers in the room, are there? I think when you have a cybersecurity curriculum carved out for you, there's a real danger and risk in being too cookie cutter and even maybe sometimes pouring in the stuff that makes people's eyes glaze over. Like, and I'm not throwing shade, I'm not pointing fingers, but a lot of the high level fluff can be cool and easy and good fodder for a multiple choice test, but it's not on the keyboard. It's not, hey, hacking away, digging into a Linux command line. It's not always what you do when you're actually doing it. So I had a whole lot of fostered growth in our cyber team, quote unquote, and like, hey, the capture the flag, scrappy team, where we just wanted to play. We wanted to play capture the flag because that's one of the cool ways to learn is your hands on keyboard. You're in it, you're with it. It's application based, it's practical learning. It's not a textbook, and it's not skewed by always what someone else thinks you might want. So you have a lot of your own self-reliance and learning there. And that's why I've always been a huge advocate for it. But for my own undergraduate education, it's not what I do on a day-to-day basis. I don't work with oscilloscopes and systems and signals. I can't do a Fourier transform to save my life. But hey, still great to gonna go through the material in the program. And I would not be who I am without that. But I don't think it holds a candle to a lot of my cybersecurity efforts. Stay in school though.
But with that, let's give it one more time round of applause for John. I think we're wrapped up here. Thank you again so much for taking your time to come on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Hey, don't be a stranger. Please chat. Keep in touch. Great spending time with you all.
Recording stopped.